Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cameron. So today I am going to talk about the three most common questions around finance that I get. So before I get into it, please hit the like button and subscribe. Okay, so finance is a difficult topic sometimes because it's one of those topics that we really didn't learn enough about in our formative years in high school, even in college. I had to learn a lot of things just doing my MBA or really just learning them the slow way, hard way, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to help you guys that may have some of these questions address some of those. If you already know, great. Maybe you can help other people. So the three common questions I get. Number one is, what is a 401k and IRA and what's the difference? All right. So 401ks and IRAs are retirement accounts, right? So a 401k is an employer sponsored retirement account. That's where the 401k actually comes from, because it's the 401k section of the IRS code, which allows for employer sponsored retirement plan. So this 401k basically is typically offered to people who are on like a W-2. So they have an option to opt into this retirement account, and by contributing a portion of their yearly earnings into this account, this fund or this financial organization, whether it be Fidelity or so and so, will pick basically a portfolio for them. Whether they want to grow aggressively, be more conservative, whatever. It's going to select a retirement path that best suits their needs, and it's going to decide which stocks and things like stocks, bonds, and such to buy with those contributions that are placed in. One of the advantages of the 401k is, for a lot of companies that you work with, that your employer will actually match what your contributions are. So, for example, let's say you're putting in 8% or $8,000 a year into your 401k, right? And your company may say, okay, we're going to match your contribution of $8,000, whatever their limit will be. It varies. Some companies do like 100% matching up to a dollar amount. Some people do smaller. But it's unique in 401k because it gives you an opportunity to really double your investment into your retirement account. So think about, if you're a person that makes $70,000 a year, right? And you are putting 10% into your 401k for your retirement, right? So that's $7,000 a year. And then your employer comes and they're going to match that by giving you an additional $7,000 a year. And that's on top of your salary. So you just increased your salary actually from 70 to 77 just by enrolling in that 401k plan. So it's basically like free money. Another thing on top of that is it gives you the advantage of being able to use pre-tax money to invest and in your future versus post-tax. Like if you were putting money in your mattress or in your savings account, you'd be doing that typically with after-tax dollars. So that's a unique benefit of the 401k. Furthermore, 401k also has higher contribution limits of pre-tax contributions that you can make versus an IRA, which I'll go into in a second. So with a 401k, you can put in up to 23 grand, I believe is the new amount. Check with your IRS agent on what the accurate amount is, but I believe it's 23,000 you're allowed to contribute into your 401k of your pre-tax. After that, you have to do it with after-tax monies. All right, so for an IRA, it's very similar to a 401k, except an IRA is an individual retirement account. So it's a little bit different in that you aren't going to have, an employer that's going to be contributing to this. This is something that you're typically going to be using if you're on a 1099, if you're self-employed, maybe you're a contractor, consultant, or things like that. An IRA is something that you're going to be using. So another thing about the IRA, there's smaller contribution amounts that you can put in pre-tax. So IRA, you can only contribute up to $7,000 a year of your pre-tax earnings. So it's a little bit different, a bit of a process there. So both of these options allow you, whatever your situation is, to be able to start investing in your retirement plan going forward. There's also some additional benefits and features that you can leverage with these accounts for flexibility and other moves that you want to make along the way. I'm not going to talk about that here, but if maybe you guys want to go into a deep dive around that, you can let me know in the comments and I can get more into detail around that. All right. Number 2, individual stocks and mutual funds. All right. And how do you get into them? All right. So what individual stocks are, those are things like Apple, Google, Nvidia, so on and so forth. All right. And mutual funds are also ETF, exchange traded funds. Basically, they're like a portfolio or catalog of a bunch of companies that are rolled into one. So you can opt to buy shares of an individual stock like an Apple, or you can opt to invest in a mutual fund or ETF in which you're investing dollars and buying a share of this ETF, which is comprised of multiple companies, and it's typically managed by a company such as a Vanguard or so. And they give you the opportunity to diversify your investment. So it really helps to minimize your losses. It also protects you from the standpoint, if you're not a person that wants to go in and look at your stocks every day and stress about it, that managing group will basically constantly be adding your top new performers into the index and subtracting companies that aren't performing. So it's typically a good way to invest. So you think of things like the S&P 500 and things like that. So those are typically things that tend to grow over time, and because you have really smart people that are doing the analysis and identifying the best companies for that portfolio within the mutual fund or ETF. Individual stocks can also be good opportunities, but it's one of those things that it gives you an opportunity that a lot of times you can buy really low into something and get some really high rewards in the future. But you also take bigger risk from the standpoint if you guess wrong, you can tend to, lose a lot also. So ways to get started into that, you can enroll in platforms such as E-Trade or Robinhood to get started. It's a good way to, just start with something small. Start buying some trades and some things that you're familiar with, maybe companies and things that you purchase from, and so on, to start getting your investment feet wet. So think about it from the standpoint of investment in stocks and things like that. You're investing in companies for the long term. So I don't recommend people doing the whole day trade thing. That's something that you really got to be really good at to get in the day trade thing, of which you're constantly selling and trading. You want to find some things that are well performing companies or well performing indexes that you can invest in and continually invest in over time, so you can see your money grow versus trying to guess and buy at the right time, get out at the right time. It doesn't really work. All right, you got it. All right, number 3, credit. So you would be surprised how many people are in the woods about credit, like credit scores, what credit is used for, what their credit score is, so on and so forth. It's really important to know credit and understand credit in your credit situation. I never understand how our schools and things growing up, and a lot of times our parents to a degree, did not teach us how credit is used and how to build credit and so on and so forth. So many people end up on the wrong side of the stick because they just don't know. So starting with, before I start talking about credit, think of credit basically as like your financial reputation, right? So your financial reputation, your credit, will really determine if people want to do business with you, right? If you have a good financial reputation, people are going to want to do business with you, right? They're going to give you the best deals, best opportunities. If you have a poor financial reputation, people are going to be hesitant to do business with you, or they're going to want certain protections, right? So think about credit from that standpoint. So there are a few categories of credit. So once again, I don't want to go into a super deep dive, but something you should be familiar with is a prime credit score, because this is typically what, when you see advertising of interest rates and so on and so forth, and trying to buy a house or car, or whatever, when you see those marketed interest rates, those are evaluated or based on you having a prime credit score. Prime credit score is a score between 660 to 719. And some, depending who you're scoring with, may even say 670 to 719. But typically, if you're in that 660 to 719, you're going to be able to qualify for your promotional rates. Above that, what you have is like your super prime, and that's 720 and above, where you're going to be able to get basically anything you want when you're negotiating deals, cars, houses, and things. You're going to get the absolutely best rates, lower deposits, no deposits, things like that. So under prime, right, the next tier is going to be your near prime. So near prime is in that scale where you're just under prime, like 620 to 659 area, where you may miss out on the promotional deals, but you can still get approved. You may get a little bit higher interest rate, or you may have a little bit of a deposit, so on and so forth. But your credit's not so bad that people won't do business with you. You're going to pay a little bit higher price, right? Then you have subprime. So subprime, that's when you're below 620. That's when you're getting to that area in which you're going to be at risk of having predatory lending, things like that. So that's when you start seeing people with 20% interest rates, or the buy here, pay here type car dealerships, super high APRs and things like that. The secured credit card, where people basically have to have a credit card, which is like a debit card. It's a credit card in which people have to actually pay money, right? So they have to put $1,000 up to get $1,000 credit. So basically they're paying that bank to extend them credit. So it's a secure credit card thing. So it's typically something that's marketed to low income communities and people with bad credit, is opportunities to build their credit up while minimizing the risk to the lenders. So just something to be aware of. Another area that subprime credit score can impact you is that it can follow you from the standpoint, if you're trying to apply for an apartment in a decent area. A lot of times those places won't lease to you, or they'll have some astronomical deposit demands, things like that. Your insurance may increase if you have lower credit scores. If you're working in the financial sector, a lot of companies or financial institutions will not hire you. Once again, going to the reputation, people think you're irresponsible, you can't manage money, and you can be, at risk. So those are things to think about. And then you have, under that, you have deep subprime, which that's a whole nother level. That's below 580. So the moral of the story is understand your credit, understand your credit score, and understand the implications of what credit can have just on your daily life, from not just purchasing power, but just ability to make moves, whether it be in business, whether it be just to find a decent place to live, to find a decent job, things like that. So those are important things to know. So any other questions you might have about what we discussed today, enter them into the chat, or you can email me. I'm at Cameron@thechangeland. Once again, hit the like button and subscribe. If you guys have any other topics or any other questions, please let me know in the chat. All right, take care.